Did you know that 20% of businesses fail within the first year of business? And that's not all. According to the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, out of those businesses that survive, 30% end up failing by the end of the second year. And about the fifth year, 50% of the prior surviving businesses end up failing. You see a trend here? Well, regardless of the trend, you definitely do not want to get caught up in those stats. And that's why we brought you the best in the industry to guide us through the ups and downs in the market and to share with us the steps that you need to know to secure a business loan in 24 hours. Whether you have a business in e-commerce, a trucking business, a restaurant, or a construction company, this episode is for you, the business owner out there. I know there's a lot of fear regarding the big R word, but the truth is you cannot do anything to stop that. What you can do is prepare you and your business for what is about to come. And the best way to do that is by securing a loan under your wing so you can continue to focus on the growth of your business even through tough times. And to help you make it happen, we have Joe, founder of National Business Capital. And here we are once again with Joe, founder of National Business Capital. Joe, welcome to the channel again.
Thanks for having me.
The pleasure is ours. Thank you for having us back here in your offices.
Yeah, thanks for coming out.
Yeah. So Joe, since the last time we were here, we got a lot of questions from the audience regarding everything that's happening with the market. As you know, there's a lot of toxicity, bad news, the big R words, and our viewers are concerned, right? And now my question to you as the leading expert in this industry, what are some of the trends that our audience need to be on top of? And what do you think they can do in order to not just hold on to what's going on, but also to help them secure the funding that they're looking for?
Yeah, well, I think, you mentioned just like, how do I stay in tune with what's going on in the market? I think as a business owner, it's really important to really pay attention to what's happening. You need to pay attention in your industry. I think, there's so much talks about recession and could there be a recession? Sure. But I think it's going to be very different for different industries and different areas and maybe even different parts of the country. So it's important that you really know what's going on in your industry and really what's happening locally. I also really recommend getting around other business owners, and especially within your industry, whether it's an industry group or a business group. I'm a part of a few different ones, and that really helps keep me in tune on what's going on. What's really important for every business is having a financing relationship. It's really important, and a lot of people will wait until things are really bad or till they're in, or the markets change, then they get scared, and then they go and try and apply for funding. So we always say, if things are going well, that's when you want to start a relationship.
Definitely.
Even if you don't necessarily need the money, because you want to have a financing partner, a lending partner that's on your side, that's familiar with you. So if there is a change in the economy, you have access to capital. So we're that financing partner for a lot of people. We have customers that have been with us for 10 plus years, and they utilize us to take advantage of opportunities. I think it's important. A lot of people will get I don't pay attention to the news. I just pay attention to what's going on in business. Right. I don't get wrapped up in all the negativity. I find it a big waste of time. But you still need to know what's going on. But in any type of market, there's always opportunity. And I think in downturns, there's actually more opportunity as long as you're prepared for it mentally and financially.
Right.
Those are like the two key things. Because if you're not prepared for it mentally, then you're out, right? Downturn happens, you focus on all the negatives, and you're missing the gold that's out there. A really smart entrepreneur told me once when I was first getting started, because I started in 07, I went right into the 08, 09 crash.
You started at a tough timing, yeah.
Right, you saw the wall, right?
Yeah.
So,
which we'll get to it in a little bit.
Yeah, and it was a crazy time. I went right into this 08, 09 recession, and someone, a really cool entrepreneur said to me, there's gold in any economy, you just have to find it. And sometimes it's harder to find. And basically it was like, now get out of my office and go find that gold. And I went and I focused on the opportunity. I kept my mind in check, and I pulled together every dollar I could, find, get my hands on, whether it was, personally or borrowed. And I doubled down into my business, and I grew an amazing company coming out of the worst financial crisis in history. So you really got to be prepared financially.
Yeah, and you guys have been in business for what, 15 years or so?
Yeah, since 2007.
It says a lot about how powerful you guys have become after, every hurdle you have faced over the years.
Yeah.
So now back in terms of the businesses. So thank you for sharing the tips on how to stay on top of the market trends and how they can hold on to it. But regarding what they will need, so how can the business best prepare for that time when they need you guys?
Absolutely. So we do deals as small as $10,000 to $25,000, all the way up to $5 million. We've done deals that are higher than that. But what's really cool is we've got it dialed in with technology, and we have 75 different lenders on our platform. So all you need is to fill out our one-page digital application, and then we'll look at the last 6 months of your business bank statements. Basically, from there, we can literally have you options in minutes and hours. It's pretty unbelievable how fast we're able to move today. And that's because of years of building out technology, a streamlined process, but also having and knowing the right lenders to work with for you and your business. Because you could apply and the business down the block could apply, and your situations, even though you're in the same industry, are different.
Yeah.
And those might cause us to bring you to two different lenders.
Right. And
But we do all that work. You don't have to do anything.
Right.
You apply one time and we can go to multiple
Everything
lenders.
is very streamlined in the front end. You guys take care of everything in the back end.
Correct.
And that brings me back to a point that you mentioned, right? So you talk about technology a lot. From my understanding, it seems that you guys have managed to get the best of both worlds. So you leverage technology to expedite the processes.
Yep.
And you have that one human component that will be connecting to the applicant to provide them with exactly what they need, understand
Correct.
what the business needs are. But for those who can't make that correlation between technology and lending, can you elaborate a little bit more about how that really works behind the scenes and how that is so crucial to getting that funding within 24 hours for our audience?
Yeah, so we've literally have spent millions of dollars on technology and building out our processes over the years. So it's been a real serious investment to spend that kind of money. That's how serious we take it. So what I think a lot of people don't understand is that, in order for us to service and serve entrepreneurs, small business owners at scale, we need to be able to process thousands of applications on a monthly basis. So we can deliver the best service to our customers. It's super important. That's why people get so frustrated. They go to a bank and they get upset, they apply, and then they don't hear back for 60 or 90 days later, because there's still a lot of old school processes with banks. And things are still done manually, and they can't make decisions quickly. So a lot of non-bank lenders that we work with have built out very fast underwriting and have used technology to do that. And then we've built out all this different technology that does a lot of different things. It's very hard to explain, but there's so many things that are happening when you apply with us. So you apply with a digital application, you fill out that application, you sign it. Then all that information's inside of our system. Then you upload your bank statements. And we literally have a technology that reads those bank statements and pulls out all the financial info that we need from it and puts it into our CRM system.
Right.
And then we take that information, and technology suggests that this should go to lender A, B, or C. And then we also have one of our team members here, one of our business financing advisors, that'll have a conversation with you. And from them understanding what you're looking to use money for, along with our system making recommendations, we'll match you to one lender, two lenders, 3 lenders, is all done very securely. And then we literally click a button and we can submit your application to 1 lender, 5 lenders, or 10 lenders simultaneously.
But the application is done strategically based
Correct.
on
So we don't just
needs.
submit you anywhere and hope for the best. We understand our system knows what all the lenders' guidelines are. So, lenders look at your personal credit, your business credit. We're looking at the industry type, your sales, the dollar amount that you requested. All these things make a difference. So based on all the information that we're getting from you, the information that we're looking at, our system and technology helps us decide that this makes sense for these 3 lenders. And then along with the conversation that our team has with you, we're inputting things that help those suggestions.
Yes. And just to piggyback on the strategic part of the application, because we have heard of instances in the past with many of our subscribers that they reach out to either a non-experienced lender or a broker that just takes in their application and they shoot like 60 applications. Literally, this is taking from a case that I read myself in the comment section, 60 different credit pulls.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's deadly to your credit.
So it's important. Like we have 75 lenders. We would never submit you to 75 lenders. That makes no sense. So we don't use all those lenders. Depending on you, your situation, what you're looking to accomplish, will make up us going to the right 1 or 2 or 3 lenders, get multiple approvals. We'll look at the best ones and we'll bring those approvals back to you. But if you came to us, we also do a soft credit pull, so it doesn't affect your credit. And then a lot of the lenders that we work with, they do a soft credit pull as well. So you won't get that hard inquiry, which is important. But after we submit you, like we have applications all the time that we submit and get declined. And then we'll move to the next group of lenders and then we'll get an approval. But once we kind of get to like 10 lenders, if they're all declining you, then there's like a real reason, there's something going on that will help address and explain to you why you've gotten declined and what you can do to fix it so we can still work with you and help you get approved.
Thank you, Joe, for explaining. Definitely very insightful and great for people to know that everything needs to be done strategically, right? Like you can't just go out there and apply for a bunch of different lenders, because although you might think it's a good idea because, hey, the more options, the better, you also don't want to annoy the lender by sending them applications that it might not work for them. And you especially don't want to get a bunch of credit pulls on your own profile. Now, I want to piggyback on something else that you mentioned, and it has to do with keeping information safely. We live in an area where everything is digital, everything is great, and that sense because it's faster, it's more streamlined. But with that also comes higher risk of exposing people's information out there.
Yeah.
And I know that's something you guys take seriously in here. Can you walk us a little bit more through that?
Yeah, so security is one of our most important things. We use all the leading, industry technologies. Our CRM system is, Salesforce.com, which is, one of the best. And, everything is secure. We have a secure document upload, so you can securely upload them instead of emailing them to us, which helps with security. And sometimes it can be, never mind us getting hacked, it could be you getting hacked. Everyone goes through training here on security. Also, we have 2-factor authentication on everyone's email, CRM systems, and anything that we log in with customer info. So it's super, super important. It's good for you to know that when you're working with us, your information is secure.
There you go. Thank you, Joe, for clarifying. Information is key, and your information is kept very securely here at National Business Capital. Now, I want to piggyback on something that we talked about in the beginning. So you share a little bit about documentation, the 6 months worth of bank statement. Is that the only thing that can help them guarantee a fast turnaround, or is there anything else you would like to share with the audience that they can bring in or have ready on board to help you expedite the process?
Good question. I mean, up to $250,000, that's it. The only other additional things that we'll need is a driver's license, so we can, use that to confirm identity, along with a few other things that we do, and then a voided check. We'll use that that's where we're going to send the funds to. And sometimes like some random things may come up from underwriting, but really nothing out of the ordinary. Those are really the main things. Sometimes they may request a most recent business tax return to verify a few things. Those are like the only things up to $250,000. Now, if you're going to go higher than $250,000, we definitely will need your most recent tax return for your business. And we'll also need usually your recent financial statements for the business, so profit, loss, and balance sheet. That's if you want over $250,000. And typically what we'll need is last year's financials and then your year-to-date financials.
Right, and those are general guidelines for most businesses, but depending on your need, some of those requirements might change.
Yeah, some could change, but nothing like really crazy or out of the ordinary, nothing that you shouldn't have easy access to.
Wow, so thank you for the information, quite insightful.
Sure.
Now, I feel like I'm always piggyback on something, right? So back to the profit and loss. So you mentioned that at a high level, and now I want to dig a little bit more into it. So why is the profit and loss so important? Does that mean that if a business doesn't get any profit, they're You're going to get automatically denied?
No, so that's a really good question. So once we go above $250,000, we need to get a snapshot and really see your profit, loss, and balance sheet. Because that just gives us a whole financial picture of your business and what's going on. Banks will want to see that you're profitable for the last 2 years and have a very big, profit. A lot of the underwriters or lenders that we work with are not necessarily so focused on profit. Obviously, if you have profit and you're very profitable, that's always helpful and always going to look really good. But a lot of times what we see is, because most of the companies that we're working with are growing, they've got opportunity, a lot of times they're growing fast. And when you're growing fast, you might not be showing that much profit because as soon as you make any profit, you're reinvesting it back in the business to grow it. So if you're not profitable or showing very little profit, that's okay. We just want to understand and get a financial snapshot of your business by looking at your financials, really understand what's going on with your cash flow, and then more importantly, what are you using the money for? And from a number of different things we'll use to determine what that will look like.
And whether that money is used responsibly as well, right?
Of course, yeah. We want to understand what you're using the money for to grow and better your business, right? There's always situations where sometimes people are growing fast and they are waiting to get paid in receivables and they're a little short for payroll and they just need some working capital to bridge the gap. But that's okay. We're happy to work with those situations as well too. But most people that come to us are growing and are looking to take advantage of opportunity.
Sounds great. Thank you for clarifying.
Sure.
So now it's time to transition and learn a little bit more about you and National Business Capital as two entities that are combined and intertwined together. Tell us a little bit more about what you're about, how you came up with the idea of National Business Capital, and what led you guys to become what you are today.
Yeah, that's a great question. I was in the residential mortgage business, back in the day. I got started in this, business in 2007. I basically had a lot of self-employed business owners that I would help get their mortgages done. And a lot of them kept asking me for a business loan. I was watching them refinance their homes or use a home equity line of credit to fuel their business.
Wow.
And a few of them just kept asking me for, hey, can you get me a business loan? And I was like, no, I don't. I only do mortgages. Long story short, I just saw how challenging it was for owners to get a loan for their business. And a lot of these owners were local business owners. I saw they had really great businesses. They did well. A lot of times they didn't show enough profit for the bank, but they had good businesses. So, I didn't understand why it was so difficult. And, one customer came to me and was like, can you get me a business loan? I said, I was like, well, it's not really what I do. And they're like, well, you've got all these bank relationships. Can't you, ask around? So I took his, I took his information. I went to one of the banks that I worked with. They had a commercial division. I said, I've got a great deal. It's a restaurant. They want to open up a catering facility. And they laughed at me. They said, we'll never fund a restaurant. And I said, well, why? He's got a great business. So I, said, well, do you know anyone that will? And they pointed me to a private lender. And that private lender sent me to another private lender. Ultimately, I wound up getting the deal done, got the owner the financing they were looking for, and they opened up this big catering facility and did really well. And I literally watched this whole thing happen. And I said, wow, that's amazing. I found this whole world of non-bank lending, private lending. Now you have to understand, some of these companies, some of these private lenders are big institutions. Some are publicly traded, so it's not like some guy in a room with money. These are real companies that lend hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars, and they're out there. And back in the day when I started, back in my day when I got started, there were still fax machines, right? So, it was a lot of lenders didn't have websites. You couldn't find any of, there's no information really online. Small business lending wasn't really a big focus. And, now you go online, you type in business loan, and a million things come up. So it's actually more confusing today. Back then you couldn't find the lenders. Now it's just, there's too many options and you don't know the right one to go to.
Paralysis,
Yeah, it's actually more confusing. It's worse now because there's just too many different options out there. So I just said, wow, what if I brought all these lenders together and could help people apply in one place? And I saw how challenged, everyone had a different process to apply, and their processes were just a disaster at a lot of these lenders. So I really helped streamline the process, streamline the application process, and I started bringing all these lenders together. And then literally one customer at a time, one deal at a time, would take their application, all their docs, and I would shop lenders, find lenders, and just start compiling all these relationships and building relationships. And literally it was like one deal at a time.
So you're already building something else without you even realizing it.
Yeah, I didn't realize, like, now it's called a marketplace, and now, it's fintech, and all these words weren't really around back then. And I was like really creating this marketplace, and the fintech piece wasn't really there yet. But I realized in order to process more applications and to be efficient, I really needed to build out some technologies. We started building, tech very early on, like 2011, 12, before there was even, companies were really even like, doing this stuff. And really, brought all the lenders together, streamlined the process, made it easy, and like, one customer at a time. And then, as we started to really get going, a few years in, I realized like, wow, like, we're really onto something here. And then really started focusing on, hiring good people, training, team, brand, systems, management, all the things that you need to build a business. So, literally, this all started out of my bedroom in 2007, and then just slowly built and hired and trained and really just, built a whole business around it. Fast forward today, 15 years later, starting in 2007, we've secured over $2 billion in funding, and I've done 27,000 transactions now, which is really just, wild. I wasn't thinking about that when I first got started.
Right.
And it's funny because back in like 2007, using the word billion, now it's used a lot. Like the word billion wasn't used back then. So to do $2 billion in fundings is just, it's pretty wild.
Definitely a lot of volume, a lot of experiences, which speaks to the team that you have and the relationship that you have built over the years, because billion sounds like a lot, right? Well, it is a lot. But then even though it is a lot, the lending industry is relatively small. Like, so you keep those connections very tight, and it's all a relationship-based business.
It really is. I think, there's a lot of tech. We've streamlined a lot of things, but there's still a relationship aspect with a lot of lenders, especially the larger the deal size is, It's still very relationship-based. So one of the most important things that I also focused on was building great relationships, doing the right thing, by our lending partners, by our customers. Those are really important, crucial things, especially when it comes to the financing industry. And it took a long time to build out those great relationships. When I first got started, I was this new young up and comer, and everyone's like, who is this guy? But then over time, people really saw how we put a big focus on doing the right thing by our customers and also by our employees, building out culture. And we've got a lot of really strong relationships now, and we're very well respected, in the small business lending industry.
And now that you mentioned doing the right thing, right? For those who are unfamiliar with the whole lending industry, what do you mean by doing the right thing for your lenders and then doing the right thing for your customers?
Yeah, listen, any industry, especially broker industry, there's people that are good and that are bad, right? Mm-hmm. And I think, a lot of times people and companies are only just focused on commission.
Right.
And profit. And, we've just always focused on just, doing the right thing, being honest, leading with integrity. And, we sometimes, we find things that come up and we share those with our lending partners, to make sure that they understand everything so they can make a right decision. And sometimes we'll, with our, customers, we'll tell them, hey, we got you an approval, but if you wait, or if you do this, or if you clean these things up, we can get you a better approval. Or, hey, take this now, but we'll work with you, so you can grow into something else. So
it's not just about a quick win, but it's more about doing things long term for the survival of the businesses that are coming to you for, I don't want to say financial assistance, but for that financing that they need so they can continue to grow. Yeah, we want our customers to do well. We want them to grow. We want to be a valued resource that's here for them, on the growth journey. And, we have a lot of customers, over the 15 years that, come back to us when, they have their, some people have their big, inventory purchases leading up to the holidays to get prepared. Some come to us in the spring when they're about to open up their restaurant on the water or whatever it might be. So having those great relationships is really key. And it's amazing, it's such a simple concept of just doing the right thing, but so many people mess that up in business and in life, right? Like, and I think,
I've always looked at this as a long-term thing. And when you look at things long-term, you'll make, short-term sacrifices for the long-term.
Right.
But if you look at things short-term, you'll make a lot of short-term bad decisions to make quick money short-term. And that's never been about it for me. It was always about doing the right thing and create a place where owners can go to access capital to grow. And, really like that story that I shared before, it was crazy to me that there were all these different lenders and products out there that most owners don't know about. And that, people were, restricted on their growth in their business, which, if they're able to grow and access the right capital and have one place that they can go to find all the programs and products that they need, the financing solutions that they need, if they can grow better and grow faster and grow smarter, then, they'll grow their business, they'll hire more employees, they'll hopefully bring more jobs to the community, which betters the community. Small businesses make up 90+% of this whole country, so I'm pro small business. I want small businesses to win because if they're, growing, creating more jobs, it's awesome for, for a country. It's a great thing, so, and for me, we've been growing and, building and growing our own business within the community. So as we're helping others grow, we're also growing constantly as well too. Right. So it's kind of like this whole evergreen, full circle thing.
And I like to think that every time the businesses come back to you, they come back bigger because you've helped them grow.
Yeah, it's actually funny you mentioned that. We had a customer a few months back now. They came to us 6 years ago and qualified for $50,000. That was the most they could qualify for at the time. Well, they came back to us and they said, hey, I'm reaching back out. I've got calls from other companies. I never take them. I've just been focused growing my business. And he goes, I've got a great opportunity to acquire another company. We got him approved for $1 million.
Wow.
And when he came to us 6 years ago, $50,000 was the most amount of money that he can get. So he got $1 million. He remembered the person that he worked with, which was still here.
Oh.
That person's gone into management now, but he got on the phone with them and said, hey, it's so cool to see that how much you've grown the company. And those stories are amazing. And when he came to us, he had a few employees. Now he has 50 employees. So just those stories and seeing others grow, is awesome.
Thank you for sharing that story. It's actually beautiful. And speaking of growth, right? We've talked a lot about growth on the client side, but you yourself and National Business Capital has experienced its own fair share of growing, right?
Yeah.
And usually you can grow in great circumstances, but in my experience, you always tend to grow even more in painful circumstances. Any fun anecdotes you want? Well, not so fun at the time, but probably fun to remember now that you and your business might have gone through in the past, and how did you overcome them, since we're all about sustainable growth for everybody?
Yeah. Well, listen, if you're growing, it's almost impossible to not have challenges or make a mistake. So that, I think, is just part of the package. It's all about what, you take from those challenges and those mistakes and learn and hopefully avoid them again and become better. And some of the biggest challenges that we've had as we've grown and become our biggest opportunities and have made us that much stronger. And I think it's really important as you're growing your business that you're prepared, that you're expecting things to happen. Because I think most people, and this is in business and in life, we're just hoping that nothing goes wrong.
Right.
I'm expecting that things are going to go wrong, and I'm prepared to take action and figure it out. And I know that when something goes wrong or there's an issue, there's usually opportunity on the other side of it. So there's been a number of we've done a lot of things right. We've done some things wrong, right? And that's okay. It's all helped us grow and be better. But I think one of the biggest things, I'll take you back to is, when we were growing fast and, and this kind of all goes back to creating a really good culture. We're growing fast, and you kind of grow fast, and we're bringing a lot of employees on, and we maybe had some of the wrong people on the team, some people that shouldn't be there, that were really we didn't realize it at the time, but they were really disrupting the culture. And when you're growing fast, sometimes you overlook that. You kind of overlook that, and you're like, well, we need this person, and any time that we've overlooked that stuff, it always comes back to bite you. And you wind up having to restart And I think it's something that we really focus on now. But, I was walking around and I'm like, wow, who are all these people? We made all these hires and like, what's going on? And, that really got us to actually focus on culture. And I wound up going to, I told you I went to this cool tour of Zappos in Las Vegas. You can actually go tour their facility. And Tony Hsieh, the original founder of Zappos, and Jen Lim wrote this book called Delivering Happiness. It's a great book. And I wound up hearing Jen Lim speak at a conference. We brought in Delivering Happiness into the company to help us build in our culture. And really from there, like this whole new culture was born. We created a culture team. We have a cultural leader. These are employees that work here, but also volunteer to be on the team, and really have put a major focus on culture first, and then everything else, and really people first and everything else. And it's not an easy thing to do, but it's been one of the best things that we've done is focus on people, culture, and having the right people, here at the company. It's been a big part of our success is having the right people and training and all these different things that go into, building a great team. It felt like at times, you had to take a few steps back to focus on people. Maybe it took a little bit longer to hire the right people. But a big thing that I always talk about is sometimes in order to go fast, you need to slow down in your business.
Agreed.
And whether it's slow down and build out some right processes, whether it's slow down and build up some tech to streamline things, whether it's slow down to just kind of like re-look at everything that's going on and where you want to go, or slow down and make the right hires. And by constantly being able to slow down, we've been able to constantly go faster. As an entrepreneur, it took me a long time to really get to this. So
it's not easy to slow down, especially if you have all the opportunity to grow, but it's a must from what I'm hearing.
And most type A entrepreneurs, not saying that that's me, but I just wanted to go. I knew, I saw opportunity, I could see it, I just wanted to get there and, run through walls. And listen, a lot of that helped me get here, but there becomes a time and a place where you got to release responsibilities. I took too long to release responsibilities to other people, and you try and control it all. And that led to a lot of, challenges as I grew. So you got to be able to slow down, release responsibilities, train and put other people in place, and really focus on these key areas of your business in order to go fast. And I see this time and time again with entrepreneurs that just want to go and grow and grow and go really fast, and they kind of ignore these really important fundamentals in your business, systems, processes, people, right? And they ignore all that, and you might book more sales. But if you can't book those sales, close those sales, collect on those sales, or deliver your product and service really great to your customer, you're going to have a lot of angry customers, even though you booked more sales.
You booked them, but you're not getting to them in a timely manner, and you're not delivering either. Wow, Joe, I feel like we've gotten a mini crash course here, not just on the lending side or market updates, but we'll also learn a lot from the business side, from someone who's gotten a lot of experience. 15 years, starting from the financial crisis all the way past the pandemic, which we recently went through and you're still standing very strong. So thank you very much for being here, for letting us be here. And how can people get either in touch with you or National Business Capital?
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to follow me, you can follow me at Grow by Joe. But if you want to get in touch with my team, know what your financing options are for your business, explore some of those options, obviously ask any questions, check out the link below. Get connected with my team. We're happy to help, and we want to help you. We want to help you, succeed and grow your business.
Yes, that's right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Do not leave for tomorrow what you can do today. And Joe's team will be waiting for you on the other side of the screen. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care.